Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Yes, I have the same top on as my previous video. No, I don't wear the same top all the time. I am, however, recording this video on the same day. I figured while I got my camera out and my tripod out, I might as well record this video as well. So I'm going to give you my February reading roundup. Not done one of these before. February was a funny month for me. I am getting back into reading. Um, January was really busy when it came to reading, and I fear I just overdid it. I was taking part in a reading challenge on Facebook in one of the groups that I'm in, and it was great. It got me reading books that I maybe wouldn't have read normally. I've read some of my really older books that have been sat on my TBR for probably years, if I'm honest. But it put me in a really bad reading slump. And I didn't actually pick up another book until I think it was the 9th or 10th of February. That's a really long period of time without reading for me. I did catch up and I read 6 books in total for the rest of February. I read 4 from my physical TBR and I read 2 on my Kindle. Um, what I'm doing this year, I have a lot of books. I've collected a lot of books, particularly over the last 18 months since getting back into reading. I do use the library a lot, but I've also been buying a lot. However, I've almost bought too much to the point where I never know what I want to pick next. And I've been finding it really difficult to choose a book, choose a series, too much choice, and I just wasn't sure. So, what I've done for 2025 to help me read more of my physical books is at the very end of last year, I went through the series that I have on my bookshelves. I wrote them onto little slips and put them in a jar, and you'll see it just there. And I'm actually getting my son and my partner to pick out my next series so that I'm not having to try and physically go through and decide what I fancy. And then I'm reading what comes out the jar. And the first one that came out of the jar, my little boy picked it for me, and it was the Never After series by Emily McIntyre. Now, I have seen so much good stuff about these books. I picked them up. I picked up the 5 book bundle from the works last year. And then as soon as Hexed came out, I also picked that up, despite never reading any of these. I know, insane, I get it. Um, but I hadn't started them. It came out of the jar February because it was just a like how many books can we read sort of challenge on the Facebook group. It was time for me to get started with these. So I did read them in order. I read the first 4 in February. I have read the 5th one, which I finished in March, so that'll come up into my March overview in April. And I'm currently reading Hexed. They are a series, but I read them as standalones. Like they're only connected by the style of book and by the fact that they are like a dark romance. They're not actually connected. Like there's no repeat characters. They're not even in the same setting, not even set in the same time. So you can absolutely read these as standalones. You don't need to read them as a series if you don't want to. I just did because it came out of the jar as a series. So I did start with Hooked first. I went in order. This one, they are fractured fairy tales. They are quite dark. There is a lot of, um, like death and murder in here. There are like some mafia like elements to these. There is bad language in them as well. So if you are offended by anything like that, I wouldn't recommend these. A lot of quite explicit sexual scenes as well. Not the most smutty type book I've ever read, but they're decent. So again, if that is not what you're into, these are probably not for you. However, if you like that sort of stuff, if you like having references to fairy tales, I'd say that these are pretty good. I really liked Hooked. It is the first one. I read this quite quickly actually because I really enjoyed it. I think so far out of all of them, this was probably my favourite. Might not be the same opinion for everybody. I think I've seen a lot of people like lots of different characters out of these, but there was just something about this one. I think I could um like get the references a lot easier with this one. This one's a Peter Pan like reference book, and I got that from pretty much every scene in here. Like there's so many references to it. It could just be because I've read this book watched the Peter Pan film so many times because it's my little boy's favorite. But this one was definitely easier for me to go, yes, this is definitely like Peter Pan references. I can see that so far. So yeah, I read this one first. I think I gave this one a 5 star. It was definitely my favorite. Then the next one is Scarred. So this one is Lion King referenced. It was good. Not my favorite. Not my worst either. But took me a little bit to get through this one. I got the references. I'm not sure if I particularly enjoyed the story behind this one. It was good, definitely worth a read. I think I gave this a 4. I think I gave this a 4. So it was good, don't get me wrong. I didn't put it down, didn't DNF any of these. It just wasn't my ultimate favourite. This one is Wretched. This one is the third one, and this one is, I believe, this one is the Wizard of Oz. Pretty sure this one is the Wizard of Oz one. Um, Again, it was good. I quite liked the fact that in this one, the um, female main character was the bad guy, I guess. In those two, it was very much like the males were the bad guys, um, and had that dark, twisted side to them, with the females following suit eventually. But with this one, the female was definitely the more twisted, and the male character was a detective gone bad. Eventually, he turns to the dark side. Good. I enjoyed it. I would probably say that that one second in my favourites out of them. So I did enjoy that one. Then we have Twisted. This one is the Aladdin based one, I believe. Again, it was good. I did really like it. I enjoyed the storyline for this. Um, Not my favourite, but it was good. We're back to the dark, twisted man. Again, really good scenes, really great descriptiveness. I think I gave this one a 4 stars. Again, I would say this one probably came in third for me. Um, I'm still reading Hexed, so I'm not sure where that's going to come. That may change where these sit, but it was good. I liked it. Um, I have then read the others, but they'll come in my January. And then I did read two very small guess one's, and one is definitely a novella. The other one is probably very similar. I'm gonna try and put a picture up somewhere. Never done it before, so please bear with me, but I will try. But um, I wanted a bit of a palette cleanser between a couple of these because they are dark romances, and I just wanted to freshen my mind a little bit with something a little bit easier, something a little bit nicer. And I was taking part in a challenge of how many books can we read collectively as a group on Facebook, and novellas are included in that. I'd only managed 4, so I just wanted to chuck in a couple of little sweet ones, little quick ones. I wouldn't say sweet, actually, one of them isn't that sweet, but wanted to chuck in a few quick ones. So the first one I read, and I've got it on my laptop here so I remember, is Same Time Next Year by Tessa Bailey. It's an Amazon original stories and was a novella. It was really good. It was a quick read. It was one that I managed to get done in just a day, like just a few hours throughout that day. Um, there are some spicy scenes which I really liked. It is basically a um, they're hockey players, ice hockey players, I think, and she is the half sister of one of the hockey players. One of them, one of the hockey players is his visa's about to run out, so he's about to be deported because he can no longer stay there. She offers to help by a fake marriage to get him like a green card so he can stay and he can chase becoming a professional hockey player while he's here. And it's your classic, they have this fake marriage, they get to know each other, they decide they actually really like each other, and eventually they get together and end up becoming real married. It was good, it was quick, it got me out of the really dark, twisty side, and it was, yeah, it was okay. It was enjoyable. I've read a few of the Amazon original stories. They're not my favorite. They're not always the best written, but they are quick, they're easy to get through. The second one that I read is part of a series. You can find it on Kindle Unlimited because that's how I've got it. It's a series, it's the Cornish Bakery series by Sarah Hope. There's quite a few of them. I can't remember how many I've read. I found this series last year. And when you borrow it from Kindle Unlimited, you borrow, I think it's 5 books at a time. They're really short, sweet romances. Um, there's no explicit sexual scenes or anything in there. It's just really nice. The general like premises of this is there is a bakery in a Cornish town, and the owner Elsie puts in a advert into newspapers offering a volunteer period of, I think it's 4 weeks standard, to go down there. You get your room, you get food, you go and volunteer in the bakery. And so far, pretty much everybody who's been there has found love and they've stayed. They're usually people trying to escape their lives, so they've maybe had a bad breakup, maybe they've lost their job, they fancy a change of scenery, they're stuck where they are, and they see this advert and they go down, and Elsie is this wonderful lady who makes them feel at home. They make lots of friends. A lot of the volunteers stay and either continue working at the bakery or they work within the little like town, little village, and they're just really nice, short and sweet. They're not marked off as a novella, but they are very quick, easy reads. It's your general, they find each other, they fall in love, they fall out, they get back together. So this one that I read this time was Returning to the Cornish Bakery. I want to say it's book 7 or book 8, but I might be wrong. And for this one, it was actually someone returning back to the village. She'd grown up there as a child. Her mum had sadly passed away. She went off to Wales to go and live with her aunt. She's come back. She was an only child. She inherited the house but never did anything with it. When she turned 18, she got the keys. She has gone back now many years later with plans of selling the little cottage and then using the money to buy herself something somewhere else. She doesn't want to live there anymore. It's got too many memories. So she goes down to volunteer so that she's there. She's got another purpose than just emptying out her old childhood home. She gets there. She's expecting this cottage to be in an absolute wreck. But as she walks up to it, she realizes that the garden is pristine and somebody's been looking after it. As she heads to the door, her old friend is there, and he says, hi. And he goes in there and he helps her. She steps inside. It's not quite how she expected it. On the day of her mum's passing, which was a very sudden passing, um, she hadn't been allowed back into the house, and she expected to go in there and it just to be an absolute mess. And it's not. It's clean. It's a bit dusty, but there's nothing in the kitchen or anything. Everything's clean, even down to the pots and the plates and the cups they were using that morning. All clean. And nobody says anything. She doesn't know why. She doesn't know how this happened. We kind of follow the story of her emptying that house and slowly but surely becoming in love and not wanting to leave the village, or maybe not wanting, maybe she's second guessing. She falls in love with her friend, and then things start to slot together. Things that are said that makes her realize that the guy, I think it was Daniel, actually is the one that's been looking after the garden, but he never said anything to her. And she then realizes that it was him who entered the house. And she's really upset because he's never told her that. And as far as she was aware, she was going into that having had nobody going since her mum passed. And he admits that he had overheard his mum saying something. And so at the sweet age of 15, he didn't want her to go into a house when she finally returned and find that it is in a mess. So he went in, he emptied the fridge, he emptied the cupboards, he cleaned, he washed everything so that when she did eventually return, the house would not be in a state. But she can't get over the fact that he lied to her, or at least didn't tell her the truth. Um, so they end up splitting up. She then decides that actually what he did was a really nice thing. And it was a really nice thing. Like at 15, a boy hearing that his mum saying that something wouldn't be good, their first thought might not be to go and clean somebody's house. Um, and at that point, then he's had his heart broken. He's had a past relationship that just didn't work out, and he can't handle it. Um, I mean, in the end, they end up getting together. It's a really nice. They're short. They're sweet. As I say, you can find them on Kindle Unlimited, but they're really good, and I do use them as palette cleansers. And that is all I managed to read in February. Some really good books. I really enjoyed it, but I did have that reading slump of around 9 or 10 days before I picked something up. So we'll see. March is starting strong. I've already read one book. I've got my second one well and truly on the way. I am going to get my partner to pick my next series. So because my son did it for the Never After series, it is time for my partner to do it. So he will be going through the jar and picking my next series, which will be my March read. Um, we'll see how we go. It's my birthday in at the very end of March. I've managed to get a couple of days off work, and that leads into a weekend. So I'm really hoping to get lots of books read in March as well. Thank you so much for joining me here today. If you are new here, please do hit that subscribe button. I'm going to try and do more of these face-to-face videos. They're not my favourite, so please be nice. But we'll see how we go. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, a wonderful rest of your week, and happy reading all of your books.